Hello everyone, and welcome to lesson 13.4B. I've entitled this video, Utah and the Mormons. This video is going to cover pages 367 to 369. A religious refuge in Utah. While the gold rush was transforming California, change was also taking place in nearby Utah. There, Mormons, or members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, were building a new community and fulfilling their vision of the godly life. The Mormons move on. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was among a number of religious movements that sprang up during the religious awakenings of the 1830s and 1840s. The founder of the Mormon Church was Joseph Smith, pictured on the right, a New Englander living in western New York. Smith said that he had received visions that led him to build a new church. He began preaching Mormon ideas in 1830. Question number 1. What religious group also goes by the name the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? The Mormons. Question 2. During the 1830s and 40s, what was happening in the United States that changed the culture of our society? There was a new religious movement, actually several religious movements that came around that time period. A lot of people were getting more into faith at that time. Question number 3. Who founded or started the Mormon Church? Joseph Smith. Smith published the Book of Mormon that year, announcing that it was a translation of words written on golden plates that he had received from an angel. The text told of the coming of the Christ and the need to build a kingdom on earth to receive him. Smith hoped to use his visions to build an ideal society. He believed that property should be held in common rather than belong to individuals. He also supported polygamy, the idea that a man could have more than one wife. This angered a large number of people. Mormons eventually gave up this practice. Smith formed a community in New York, but neighbors disapproved of the Mormons' religion and forced them to leave. The Mormons eventually settled here in Illinois. In 1839, they bought the town of Commerce, Illinois, and renamed it Nauvoo. Nauvoo became a prosperous community, and you can see where Nauvoo is on the map. If you take a look, there it is. Still, the Mormons continued to suffer persecution or mistreatment because of their beliefs. In 1844, a mob of local residents killed Joseph Smith. After Smith's death, Brigham Young took over as head of the Mormons. Young decided that the Mormons should move again to escape persecution and find religious freedom. This time, the Mormons would move west to the Great Salt Lake in present-day Utah. Although part of Mexico at the time, no Mexicans had settled in the region because of its harsh terrain. Question number 5. What controversial belief did Joseph Smith have about the concept of marriage? He believed in the idea of polygamy, that a man could have more than one wife. And that is the definition of number 6. What is polygamy? That is the idea that you can have more than one wife. Question 7. Why did Joseph Smith leave New York? Well, he was suffering from persecution, and so he decided, I want to go someplace where I'm not going to be picked on, and so that's why he moved to Illinois. Question 8. In 1839, where did Joseph Smith start a new community? Here in our great state of Illinois, and you can see once again on the map, it's northwest of Springfield, on the border there. Question number 9. What is persecution? Persecution is when you are mistreated for your beliefs. In these cases, this case at least, it was religious beliefs, but there are other beliefs that people have that get them persecuted. But in this case, we're talking about mistreatment because of the faith that the Mormons had. Question 10. What happened to Joseph Smith in Nauvoo in 1844? He was killed by the people there. Question 11. Who took over as the leader of the Mormons after Joseph Smith was killed? Brigham Young. Question 12. What important decision did Brigham Young make for his people? He decided it was time to move again into a place where there weren't other people to persecute them, so he said, we're going to move to the Great Salt Lake because no one lives there. And that's the answer for 13. Why did Brigham Young choose the location of the Great Salt Lake? Because at the time, even though Mexico owned it, Mexicans weren't living there because it wasn't a great place to live due to the terrain. So he thought, if we're getting persecuted in New York and we're getting persecuted in Illinois, let's go someplace where there aren't people. A haven in the desert. The Mormon migration began in 1846. About 12,000 Mormons made the trek in the largest single migration in American history. The Mormons' route became known as the Mormon Trail and served as a valuable route to the western United States. In 1847, the Mormons finally reached the Great Salt Lake. There, Young declared that the Mormons would build a new settlement. The Mormons staked a claim on the dry, wild land they called Deseret. Soon they had set up farming communities. At first, life was difficult for the settlers. The Mormons, however, made Deseret flourish through hard work and determination. They carefully planned towns, such as Salt Lake City, and built irrigation canals for their farms. They taxed property and regulated the use of water, timber, and other resources. Mormons also found industries so they could be self-sufficient. Mormon merchants sold supplies to the 49ers who passed through Utah on their way to California. And you can see some of their ideas in their flag today. You can see the word industry, which means hard work, and it also shows a beehive, and bees are known for being very hard-working, working together to be a successful colony. Question number 14. What was significant about the Mormon migration in 1846? It was the largest single migration in American history. 15. What was the Mormon Trail? The Mormon Trail was the route that the Mormons took out to the Great Salt Lake, and that became a very common trail for other people to use to move west. Question 16. What was Deseret? Deseret was the settlement that the Mormons created when they were out there by Salt Lake City. Well, what we would call Salt Lake City today. Question 17. What are two explanations of how the Mormons were able to make Deseret succeed that we can all use as an example for our own lives? Well, they used hard work and they used determination. So they realized this wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to be handed to them. They had to work for it. And they were also determined. They didn't quit at the first sign of challenge. So these are great. Today we call that grit, like overcoming obstacles that are in your path. Question 18. What are 5 examples of how the Mormons used intelligent practices to build success in Utah? Well, number 1, they carefully planned their towns. Number 2, they built irrigation canals for their farms. 3, they taxed property so they could use those taxes to help pay for other things. 4, they regulated the use of resources such as water and timber and other resources. And 5, they taught themselves to be self-sufficient. They created industries where they could take care of themselves and then use those ideas that they were creating, the supplies they were making, to trade with other people. So they used that hard work to make their areas very successful. In 1848, the United States acquired the Salt Lake area from Mexico after the Mexican War. In 1850, Congress established the Utah Territory. Brigham Young was named governor. By 1860, there were many Mormon communities, but Utah was not easily incorporated into the United States. Problems included the Mormon practice of polygamy and frequent conflicts with federal officials. In 1857 and 1858, war almost broke out between the Mormons and the United States Army. Utah did not become a state until 1896, after the Mormons officially gave up the practice of polygamy. Question 19. What happened to the Salt Lake area in 1848? It was acquired by the United States after the Mexican War. Question 20. Who was named governor of the Utah Territory in 1850? Brigham Young. Question 21. Which Mormon belief or practice created the most friction and conflict between them and the United States? The concept of polygamy. And so question 22, how did Mormons change their religion in 1896? They officially gave up that practice of polygamy in a deal, and then they could become a state at that time. Here are some famous Mormons you might recognize. The football player Steve Young, and then Andy Reid, the Super Bowl champion coach for the Kansas City Chiefs. Also, he coached for the Philadelphia Eagles. You have the famous baseball player Roy Halladay and the famous outlaw Butch Cassidy. You've got the Jeopardy host and champion Ken Jennings. And you have the Hollywood actor and star of the movie Barbie, Ryan Gosling. You've got the actor Aaron Eckhart and John Heder. You've also got the actress Katherine Heigl and the actress Amy Adams. And the musical performers, the Osmonds, Donnie and Marie, and then the politician Mitt Romney. And those are some famous Mormons you might know today. Maybe some of them you don't know, but that's okay. And instead of a joke for today, I actually have a quote from a Mormon, and it says, "You are good, but it is not enough just to be good. You must be good for something. You must contribute good to the world. The world must be a better place for your presence, and the good that is in you must be spread to others." Well, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.